Previously on Project Sprite. Yeah, this is a project that's been coming for a long time. I know you've seen bits of it. Me importing it, me working on it with my dad in the middle of America. Me buying the head and sticking it in the trunk. But now it's time. I've gotten the big Healy done. I've gotten the kids' bunk beds done. And now it's time to start in earnest on this. So what I want to do with this is to get it running and get it driving as quickly as possible. It's now end of January. I would really like to have it licensed and on the street by March, when the weather starts to break and be nice. I know cosmetically it's not gonna be it's gonna be rough, okay? It's been sitting for a long time. I don't think I have too far to go with it because my dad and I did a lot of work on it. It has new tires and lots of new rubber parts, but it needs a new head. At least that's my operating theory from what was going on with it. Yeah, it's kind of my plan for the Sprite to get it up and running as quickly as possible, because I've been playing with these cars for a year and a half now. That's when I started the Big Healy project, and I haven't had much driving time. It's all been shop time, so I want, I can drive the Big Healy now, but I want the Sprite running and on the street. This is a special car for me. This is a car I grew up with. I have this instinct to take it all apart and do it like I did the Big Healy. Why I have the head off? Maybe I should go ahead and pull the engine and power wash it and paint it. And why I have the engine out? Maybe I should do the interior, the engine compartment. Why I have the engine compartment out cleaned up? Maybe I should replace all the brake hoses. And on and on and on until it never stops. So I'm gonna fight those urges, get it running, and just use it as a fun car, and then bit by bit, as time allows, make it a little more cosmetically appealing. For now, let's set the simple goal of getting it running. So I have it upside down on the bench. I'm looking for any cracks that are obvious, but the way it was behaving, it shouldn't be obvious. It should be closed when it's cold, and then open up when it gets hot. But when we had this spark plug out in Warsaw, we were getting steam out of this. I think it was this cylinder. Could be this one. So what's interesting is it has a bunch of gouges and nicks and stuff. Pretty bad. Just on the surface though. I don't see any cracks, but who knows. So I'm gonna go ahead and take everything off, switch it over to the new head, put the new head on. I might try to clean this up, clean up some parts while it's off, just because it looks nicer. So I got to the point where they getting the exhaust bolts out, studs out. And I was thinking, man, I don't know if I have an exhaust manifold gasket. Went over to the parts box. There it is. Yay, past me. Future me says thank you. So, this is the old head gasket, and I've noticed something interesting on it. This is all deteriorated between, this is one of the ports that the coolant goes through. I don't know if I've done that after, or if it was like that in the engine. On the opposite side, it's turned black between these two cylinders, which that ain't no good. That should be silver and shiny like the rest of it. So I'm wondering, maybe it was a head gasket failure instead of the head. After I think about it, some of these problems with it not starting when it was warm and stuff started back in 94, the last time I restored it. And my dad and I had replaced the head, and we put this new head gasket on. So maybe it's not that. Maybe my logic is failing me. But anyway, I am putting the new head on no matter what, because it'll be a lead-free head, and I won't have any problems down the road with that. I don't know if you can see that, but there is steam coming out. So that would mean it wasn't the head. What that does mean is that it's probably the engine block. So that is a major disappointment. So a lot has happened since I was in the shop on Friday. Got home. Well, I left pretty much after that last clip, and I saw the steam coming out of the top. Pretty deflated. So I came home, talked to my dad, told him what I saw. We both agreed that if it wasn't the head, then it must be the engine block, which was scary. So started, I just can't run down the street and buy a new engine block. So I did start looking around. Found some in England. I could take the train up to Oxford and pick one up, but train tickets cost more than the head, than the engine block. So that wasn't a great option. Thought about buying a midget and in really bad shape with an engine and transmission that was good, parting out the rest of it. Not an ideal solution because I didn't want to deal with a whole nother car. And they're not lying around either. It'd be a trip up to England with a trailer to pick one up, or hire somebody to drive it down, tow it down. So I was kind of down, processing it. Got back on the internet and looked up torque settings. Because if it's not coming from the head, if it's not coming from the block, it must be coming from the head gasket. So in my Haynes manual, it said 42 foot-pounds is what you torque the bolts to, at least the way I understood it. There's some really good forums, people talking about, do you torque it dry? What happens if there's engine oil on it? What happens if if it's lightly oiled? All these things affect the settings on your torque wrench. Well, the torque you get from your torque wrench. So I ended up on a forum. A guy who seemed to know very much what he was talking about said torque them to 50. If they're heavily coated in engine oil, torque them to 55. So, okay, I've got nothing to lose. So I decided I wanted to torque them up, see if that stopped the leaking. So my wonderful wife, who's crazy in the same way I am, said, okay, let's go down to the garage and you can do your thing, and then we'll go shopping after that. Cool. So my stepson and my wife and I head off to the garage, take the valve cover off, retorque the bolts. Well, torque them up to 50, and put the valve cover back on. Had a hard time starting it as it was processing, whatever junk was in there. Adjusted the timing a bit again, and it fired up. And that's the video you'll see next. So I let it warm up, and then once it was warm, shut it off, and then start it again. Let it run for a little while, shut it off, and it started again. Did this like 5 or 6 times, and my wife's going, okay, it's stinky in the garage, it smells like car exhaust, let's get out of here. I go, oh, well, let me try one more time. So I kept doing it, and it was repeatedly starting up while it was warm, with very little cranking. So I think maybe with the new torque, it sealed up. Whew. So I'm feeling much more relieved. I want to do some more testing, and I don't fully trust it yet, but I'm no longer looking at buying a midget to pull the engine out of. So that's where we are this weekend. If you want to come along on the ride as we complete this project, click the subscribe button. If you want YouTube to tell you every time there's a new video, click the alarm bell. Thanks for watching, and your support is very much appreciated.